Hi, I'm Patrick.
And I'm Liv.
And this is the Mach-E vlog. Today we're at the headquarters of Aptera in Carlsbad, California.
And we are going to see their grand reveal of their Gamma model. So, let's go! So it's kind of crazy. We're standing here in front of Aptera in California. We drove all the way here from Colorado in Blue Tusa for our Mach-E, but I am actually a reservation holder of an Aptera, a 400-mile full solar Aptera in the color Luna. So that's their silver one. I mean, kind of why not? The reservation was like $100 and I got a discount. It was $75. It's gonna be $33,000 with everything added. It's like base $29,000. And if it's actually that cost for the amount of stuff that you get, I think this is gonna be really incredible. We haven't gotten to see one in person, and today we are here to see an unveiling of their newest model, their new edition. It's like, I think it's gonna be the final one before their final version, something.
They're saying this is the Gamma, and then there's gonna be a Delta, which is their production intent model. But they are getting very, very close. So we're gonna go take a look and see what they are gonna talk about and all of that good stuff.
And find out how it's made and see where it's made. What an incredible opportunity. You're gonna come with us, so let's go. How cool is that? How cool does that look? That's the one I have on order. The Luna, the silver, what do you think? Luna and Grabber Blue next to each other? I think that would look good. But I put a reservation in a year ago. I've been like, really excited about this car just because, I mean, come on, it's pretty spectacular. If this comes to fruition and like mass production, and it's just so weird looking. Isn't that cool? I want to put little teeth on it, like a little shark mouth or something. What should I call it? If I get this, what should I call it? That exact model. We need to start crowdsourcing a name now.
12 assembly stations, 12 minutes per station, in about 2 hours. And Aptera is built from stem to stern, honks the horn, and leaves this factory. Once we're at rate production, that's about 40 vehicles a day. So we can build 40 vehicles a day, about 10,000 per year on one shift, and we plan to have more than one shift at this facility. So it's amazing to see things coming together. I'll play the simulation and walk you through what's happening. In the middle of the facility, between the two big green poles, is our battery assembly line. So we get raw cells in, 2170 cells, and they are mated together in our very unique and interconnect packaging. And then they are wire bonded together through these machines down here and become a completed battery module. Then those modules are finished, and they have some unique protection features added. And then 6 of those battery modules end up in our battery pack. And with those 6 modules, the case gets put on, and that is the base structure for our vehicle. Our structural battery pack is what marries the front suspension and the rear suspension and takes most of the road loads and impact loads through the life of the vehicle. So in station 1, we marry that battery pack with the rear suspension. In station 2, we then marry the front suspension and the body structure to the vehicle. Then we go around the facility to this far wall over here, and we start, over here is inventory, so in that very back corner back there is our inventory area. Inventory flows out to these nice parts per assembly station, and station number 3, we get to put in the HVAC, and the brake system, and some wiring harnesses. In station 4, we get some of the interior trim. In station 5, we get more thermal components. And in station 6, we get the rest of the high voltage harness and the low voltage harness. Most of the high voltage exists on the structural battery pack underneath, and most of the low voltage exists in the vehicle. Station 8, the deck lid and the windshield, the nose cone, the camera system, and some exterior panels. Then station 11, you get the deck lid, and the door latches are aligned. Then you roll under the stairs here, and the final assembly is down between these green poles right here. And that's when you get things like the brake fluid, and the washer fluid, and then everything gets pressure checked It's also where the smoke station will be. So instead of having a big station where we rain on the car to see if there's leaks, we inject smoke in the car to see if smoke comes out. So we need the seals that we check. Then we do the final kind of fit and finish check, make sure there's no blemishes, everything's in line, gap and finish check. Then we roll over here and honk the horn and out the door. If something needs to be repaired, it goes onto this yellow line. It gets repaired before it gets put back into sequence. We roll back around to station 1, but that is the build of the Aptera.
What is your software development then?
The software for the manufacturing execution system or the software for the vehicle?
For the vehicle itself?
For the vehicle, we partner with a company up in Canada called Crank, and we have our own internal software team. Brian Gallagher leads that team. I don't know if he's here today, but we have an amazing software package that has made some great leaps and bounds recently. We actually acquired Brian Gallagher's company, Andromeda Interfaces. They made display systems for other vehicles like Vantage vehicles and green machines and a bunch of other plays that have the need to display information to people. But he's very good at figuring out what's the best way to display your information and how should you interact with the vehicle from a human-machine interface perspective. All right, moving to batteries.
When do you expect the first deliveries of those the automatic cart things?
The HEVs?
Yeah.
We're hoping that by the beginning of next year, we'll start to map out the assembly line and have those automated guided vehicles. The platform this vehicle sits on, first we put the battery pack on it, and then you build the vehicle on top. That little robot that takes the vehicle around is called an automated guided vehicle. And it's really cool because you don't have to have tape on the floor or anything. You just program its course, and it remembers that course. You go to station 1, stop for 12 minutes, 30 seconds to the next station, stop for 12 minutes, and it's all managed digitally, so you can just change on the computer, how all those work. If something goes wrong in an assembly station, it can move out of the way, and you can repair it and move it back into sequence. It's really cool and versatile. And compared to other automotive where you have overhead gantries or rolling assembly lines, it's much more efficient and flexible for when we bring out other variants of the Aptera. One more.
Have you decided on paint or
film? So the vehicle will get to the end of this inspection station, and that's probably where we'll do the film, though we haven't time studied that yet. But film is much more environmentally friendly than paint. Anytime you atomize something, solvents go off in the atmosphere, it's bad, bad, bad. When you create a film, it's all done in a manufacturing process, and it's really, really environmentally friendly. I think it's hopefully going to set an example to the rest of the industry that paint shops should be dead for a lot of reasons. It also costs a lot of money to build a paint shop. When traditional automotive plants get started, about a third of their spend is just on the paint shop. My battery company just down the street, Flux Power, it created a battery management system that tracked, the useful life of the cell and kept them very healthy over time. So I've had, over a decade of experience in the battery world. I've been to almost every large-scale battery manufacturing plant in Asia. Some very high-tech, some very low-tech, nauseating. But when we started to create a battery system for Aptera, we knew we wanted a very energy-dense battery pack and something that would last for decades. So our battery management system is created to manage and maintain the battery pack for a very healthy life and record, how the batteries are performing over time and give you basically a state of health of how your batteries are working. And it's something that you can see on the UI screen that a lot of other EV companies don't give you access to. They don't tell you what's going on with your battery pack. But we show you basically how balanced your battery pack is in terms of how the voltage and impedance match amongst your cells. And then we show you a nice graph where if the graph is converged in basically a straight line, your battery pack is perfectly healthy. Everything's happy. If it starts to spread out, then it's less healthy because your battery cells are kind of operating in different conditions. So this is basically the head end battery management board. This battery management board goes on each battery module. As I showed you in the simulation, 6 of these battery modules make up our battery pack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the first pack that we're introducing is actually a 45 kilowatt hour battery pack, 41 usable kilowatt hours. That is the 400 mile range Aptera. Next, we'll bring out the 66 kilowatt hour battery pack, then the 23, then the 99. That can get to 1,000 miles range. The difference in these packs is this pack is just a decontented module. So to get down to 23 kilowatt hours, we just take cells out of the module, and we build the pack exactly the same. In the bigger modules, the cells actually get bigger. So they turn into fatter and taller cells. These are the initial cells that we're using, they're called 2170 cells, because they're 21 millimeters in diameter, 70 millimeters tall. In the future, to get these higher range packs, they'll be bigger cells, taller and fatter. The unique process that we're using to attach the cells to our current collectors is we use a process called ribbon bonding. So we bond to the cell, bond to the current collector, bond to the next cell, and that's how you get power from the front of the battery module all the way into the battery module. Creating a system where you can virtually build a vehicle. So he checks parts out of inventory, they get scanned in, he moves those parts from inventory to the assembly floor, and then the vehicles come through. He has it set for 12-second intervals, it's really 12 minutes. You can see 12 assembly stations and everything that happens in those assembly stations on the screen here. And then the little screen to your right actually shows you what parts are flowing out of inventory and onto vehicles as they're being built. And that gives us, a leg up. I mean, this is my 8th startup, and I just drool over systems like this that I wish I had in my previous companies. It's cost us a lot of money, a lot of time on next parts to execute, but Sandy Munro and everyone that's advised us has said, if you can get systems like this implemented before you ever build your first vehicle, you will have a much more successful company. And it helps us keep control on our bill of materials costs. It makes everything very traceable. We also have an ERP system, so all of our accounting is digitally run. It brings in inventory as needed, and then the inventory is executed into bills via this system. And then in the future, for a warranty system that will track back to this, everything that was put into your Aptera, so we know if there's a problem with a series of, we got 100 bolts, and the 100 bolt, they were bad, and we have to track that 5 years from now and figure out what happened with those bolts. But I think it's really notable, and I think you guys have seen other EV startups or been around. It's not a thing that many companies, startups that I have seen have ever been able to accomplish. So I think it's a real big compliment to our team that have been able to execute on this thing. For those that have experience to ride in data, it is an amazing driving vehicle, and that's a compliment to our suspension and vehicle dynamics team. A big thing that we did in the front suspension is we obviously made the suspension much more aerodynamic, so air can flow through the upper and lower control arm. We also added a sway bar, and now everything is kind of production quality, automotive bushings and such. In the rear, we did something really unique that we have a patent file for. It's a trailing link suspension. Most other three-wheelers that you've seen out there, they have a single-sided swing arm, like a BMW motorcycle. There's a big arm, and then the bottom of the wheel is just attached to the side of the arm. The problem is motorcycle dynamics like that aren't really the same as automotive dynamics. So when you drive the vehicles that have single-sided swing arms, they feel a little different. But this new trailing link design, it feels like any other small, kind of sporty vehicle that you drive. That's the Model 3, you name it. It feels very comfortable going over speed bumps, going around corners, acceleration, deceleration. That's where you mostly feel it when you would step on the brakes. Instead of diving, it would actually raise the nose up, and then on acceleration it would do exactly the opposite. The nose would go down. So a traditional automobile acts completely the opposite. So I think this is an amazing step forward, and you will all feel it when we finally start giving test drives. The new version of our production motor. This is the first one that's been put together, so it's amazing to see. But this is the motor that will go on our production vehicles, and they're working in Slovenia mightily to get that factory ready to really pump these out for us. But you'll notice, if you haven't seen an in-wheel motor before, it's exactly the opposite from a regular motor. Usually you have a motor that stays put on the outside and the center spins. So you have a rotor that spins on the inside. This is exactly the opposite. The center stays still and the outside spins, and that's what spins your wheel. There's a radial ring of magnets around here, and that's what produces all the power. So it's a nearly solid state motor in that regard. The only thing that's wearing on this motor when it's spinning is the axle bearing. So in the future, if something goes wrong, it's just the axle bearing. And most vehicles out there, they have 1,000,000-mile axle bearings now. You don't really hear of new modern automobiles having bad axles. So we expect this to last a long, long time. And with a bigger radius on the magnet ring, we get a lot more regenerative force, so we're able to save our brakes. So we're hoping that we have more than a 500,000 mile brake service interval on this vehicle. which is just amazing. Most of your braking comes through regen braking instead of the actual calipers smashing the disc with two brake pads. As I mentioned before, I've had 8 startups now. Some haven't always gone the best, but some have gone pretty good. But one thing that I've never had in any of my startups is really the sage wisdom to not go down certain paths. And I think when Steve and I decided to restart Aptera, one of the first things we said is, we need to design this vehicle to be manufacturable from the start. We don't want to design a really cool product and get thousands of people excited, like everyone here is excited, and then try to slam a vehicle into manufacture and then figure out a year from then, crap, we need to redesign this vehicle to be more manufacturable. So one of the first calls we made before we hired our first employee was to Sandy Munro. And we said, you are the best at this. You know how to build a factory for lean manufacturing, and you know what kind of products should be in that factory to make the most of that product, to have a quick build time, an efficient build time, and decrease the cost of that product. He's done it for companies like Boeing and Maytag and Dodge and Ford, if they would ever listen to him, and other big companies. But it's been amazing to have him and his team on board with us, literally from inception, to say, if you guys can make a vehicle that has a body structure with only 4 parts, you are going to revolutionize transportation. If you guys can make this vehicle with simple build assemblies that you bring to a final assembly plant and just put them together, you will be masters of the supply chain. And it's just been great wisdom all along, every step of the way, and I can't be happier to have Sandy here today to celebrate the unveiling of our latest vehicle. So please welcome Sandy Munro to the podium.
Well, I'd like to first off maybe echo the words. I'm really, really happy to be here. I'm also very happy to be associated with the latest and greatest of all the iconic vehicles that have come out. There's only a few that can be identified by their name. The Model T, nobody has to say Ford. The Beetle, nobody has to say VW. And the Mini, nobody has to say BMW. And now we've got the Aptera. That is an iconic vehicle, and you all, I'm sure most of you have got money in this thing just like I do, you all are a part of a revolution. It's the only word I can think of. A revolution that's probably going to take the 20th century, whatever you call that, the 21st century, whatever century it is, I don't know. But anyways, this is gonna really be the vehicle that everybody's gonna point at forever. It's got an iconic style. It's got an iconic, brand new iconic drive system, solar system. Everything about it says that this is the car for our times. So I'm very happy to be here, and I hope you guys are really going to enjoy the new reveal that you're about to see here. So anyway, thank you very much for coming, and make sure you tell your friends to invest.
We definitely took it down to the line on actually building this vehicle, so I hope you know that a lot of people in this building worked very, very hard to put all the finishing notes on this vehicle so all of you could come in and see the first unveil of Gamma. It's spectacular in many ways, but it has changed significantly from the Alphas that you see up there. If you've seen the aerodynamic simulation video online, The vehicle's actually longer by 4 inches, so you actually get more storage in the tail. The storage area in the back is actually lower by 50 millimeters too, so you get more depth in the storage in the rear. So when you go camping, it should be pretty amazing. And the rear hatch opens with a knock.
What?
Super cool.
Okay, that's cool.
As do the doors and other things. We know that you'll be very excited about this vehicle and making it part of your life.
I think the best way to do this is probably just point out some of the features. You guys are very persistent in your pursuit of knowing what's going on, but we've got the most efficient headlight in the smallest package possible, 4x less the energy with 150 degree field of optics. We've been in development for over a year on that. It's a fantastic piece of equipment. Second of all, you might notice a windshield wiper there. We have a rear vision system. We have a working solar roof and a working solar IP made in-house from the production facility down the road.
You might enjoy the pedals. There's a little story behind the pedals too that came from one of our best creative composites guy, Marcelo. Currently these pedals are made from upcycled used skateboard decks, so they're maple.
Oh, cool.
Thank you, Marcelo. Great idea. I want you guys to understand, of course you do, we've got alpha, beta, gamma, and gamma was, represents about 7 to 6 months ago, and then the execution over the past months, and especially the past few weeks. Delta, as you might have alluded to with Chris and Sandy, Delta is almost complete. Not hoping for the end of the year, or near the end of the year. It's coming very quickly, and Delta is even better than this. Some of you have been very keen on all the details, and we ran into the creative and engineering process. And by the way, to me, Aptera represents the best in engineering inside and out. It's really a fantastic execution and exercise, and again, Delta's going to be better.